and who vanquishes all the fear of his devotees, entered the mind of Vasudeva in full opulence. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The word Vishvatma refers to one who is situated in everyone's heart. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hridayase Vijnanatistati. Another meaning of Vishvatma is the only lovable object for everyone. Because of forgetfulness of this object, people are suffering in this material world. But if one fortunately revives his old consciousness of loving Krishna and connects with Vishvatma, one becomes perfect. The Lord is described in the third canto, 3.2.15, as follows. Paravarisu Mahat Amsa Yukto Hi Ajo Pi Jato Pi Bhagavan. Although unborn, the Lord, the master of everything, appears like a born child by entering the mind of a devotee. The Lord is already there within the mind, and consequently it is not astonishing for him to appear as if born from a devotee's body. The word Avivesha signifies that the Lord appeared within the mind of Vasudeva. There was no need for adjustment, discharging of semen. Discharge of semen. That is the opinion of Sripad Sridhara Swami and Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur. In the Vaishnava Tosani, Srila Sanatana Goswami says that consciousness was advised when the mind of Vasudeva, Srila Vira Raghava Acharya also says that Vasudeva was one of the demigods and that within his mind the super personality of Godhead appeared as an awakening of consciousness. Okay, well, that's good. Awakening of consciousness. Text number 17. While carrying the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart, Vasudeva, or the Lord's transcendentally illuminating effulgence. And thus he became as bright as the sun. He was therefore very difficult to see or approach through sensory perception. Indeed, he was unapproachable and unperceivable, even for such formidable men as Kamsa and Naradeva. Purports for Srila Prabhupada. The word Dhamma is significant. Dhamma refers to the place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, it is said, Dhamma Svena Sada Nirashta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. In the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no influence of material energy. Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam. Any place where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present by his name, form, qualities, or paraphernalia immediately becomes a Dhamma. For example, we speak of Vrindavana Dhamma, Dwarka Dhamma, and Mathura Dhamma because uh, because in these places the name, fame, qualities, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Godhead are always present. Similarly, if one is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do something, the core of his heart becomes a Dhamma, and thus he becomes so extraordinarily powerful that not only his enemies, but even also people in general are astonished to observe his activities. Because he is unapproachable, his enemies are simply struck with wonder, as explained here by the words Dustra, Adut, uh, the words the words Purusham Dhamma have been explained by various acharyas. Sri Viraraghava Acharya says that these words refer to the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vijayadvaja says that they signify Vishnu Tejas, and Sukadeva says Bhagavat Swarupa. The Vaishnava Tosani says that these words indicate the influence of the Supreme Lord's effulgence, and Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur says that they signify the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text number 8. Can you give me something to drink?
Oh, yes, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Text 18. Aturishnagan Mangalam Achutam Sam Sma Hatyam Sura Sutena Devi Dadpara Sarvat Vakam Atma Bhutam Kasta Yatan Yat Ananda Karam Mahasta. Thereafter, accompanied by plenary expansions, the fully opulent Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all auspicious for the entire universe, was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki. Devaki, having thus been initiated by Vasudeva, became beautiful by carrying Lord Krishna, the original consciousness for everyone, the cause of all causes, within the core of her heart, just as the east becomes beautiful by carrying the rising moon. Excuse me 1 second. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As indicated here by the word manasta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was transferred from the core of Vasudeva's mind or heart to the core of the heart of Devaki. We should note carefully that the Lord was transferred to Devaki not by the ordinary way for a human being, but by diksha, initiation. Oh, interesting. Thus, the importance of initiation is mentioned here. Unless one is initiated by the right person, who always carries within his heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot acquire the power to carry the Supreme Godhead within the core of one's own heart. The word achutam is used because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sad Aishvarya Purna, full in the opulence of wealth, strength, fame, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. The Supreme Godhead, let's say, the Supreme Godhead is never separated from his personal opulences. As stated in Brahma Samhita 5.39, Brahmadi Murtisu Kala Niyamena Tistam. The Lord is always situated with all his plenary expansions, such as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha. Therefore, the word Ashtatam is specifically used here, signifying that the Lord always, uh, signifying that the Lord is always present with his plenary expansions and opulences. There is no need to think of the Lord artificially as yogis do. Dhyana vastita tadgatena manasa pasyanti yam yogina. Bhagavatam 12.13.1. Yogis meditate upon the Supreme Person within the mind. For a devotee, however, the Lord is present, and his presence need only be awakened through the initiation by a bona fide spiritual master. The Lord did not need to live within the womb of Devaki, for his presence within the core of her heart was sufficient to carry. One is here forbidden to think that Krishna was begotten by Vasudeva within the womb of Devaki, and that she carried the child within her womb. When Vasudeva was sustaining the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, he appeared just like the glowing sun, whose shining rays are always unbearable and scorching to the common man. The form of the Lord, situated in the pure, unalloyed heart of Vasudeva, is not different from the original form of Krishna. The appearance of the form of Krishna anywhere, and specifically within the heart, is called Dhamma. Dhamma refers not only to Krishna's form, but to his name, his form, his quality, and his paraphernalia. Everything becomes manifest simultaneously. Thus, the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with full potencies, was transferred from the mind of Vasudeva to the mind of Devaki, exactly as the setting sun's rays are transferred to the full moon rising in the east. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, entered the body of Devaki from the body of Vasudeva. He was beyond the conditions of the ordinary living entity. When Krishna is there, it is to be understood that all the plenary expansions, such as Narayana and incarnations like Lord Nrsimha and Varaha, are with him, and they are not subject to the conditions of material existence. In this way, Devaki became the residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second and the cause of all creation. Devaki became the residence of the Absolute Truth, but because she was within the house of Kamsa, she looked just like a suppressed fire or like misused education. When fire is covered by the walls of a pot or is kept in a jug, the illuminating rays of the fire cannot be very much appreciated. Similarly, Misused knowledge, which does not benefit the people in general, is not very much appreciated. So Devaki was kept within the prison walls of Kamsa's palace, and no one could see her transcendental beauty, which resulted from her conceiving the supreme personality of Godhead. Commenting upon this verse, Sri Viraraghava Acharya writes, Vasudeva Devaki Jatar Rayo Hridayayor Bhagavan Sambandha, the Supreme Lord's entrance into the womb of Devaki from the heart of Vasudeva was a heart to heart relationship. Wow, that's good. Text 19. Devaki then kept within herself the Supreme Personality of God, the cause of all causes, the foundation of the entire cosmos. But because she was under arrest in the house of Kamsa, she was like the flames of a fire covered by the walls of a pot, or like a person who has knowledge but cannot distribute it to the world for the benefit of human society. Purport. In this verse, the word jnana kala is most significant. Knowledge is meant for distribution, although there is already much scientific knowledge. Whenever scientists or philosophers awaken to a particular type of knowledge, they try to distribute it throughout the world, for otherwise the knowledge gradually dries up and no one benefits from it. India has the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, but unfortunately, for some reason or other, this sublime knowledge of the science of God was not distributed throughout the world, although it is meant for all human society. Therefore, Krishna himself appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and ordered all Indians to take up the cause of distributing the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita throughout the entire world. Yari Dekatarika Krishna Upadesha Amara Ajnaya Guru Hana Tara E Desa. Instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Sri Krishna as they are given in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 7, 128. Although India has the sublime knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Indians have not done their proper duty of distributing it. Now, therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement has been set up to disturb this knowledge as it is, without distortion. Although previously there were attempts to distribute the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, these attempts involved distortion and compromise with mundane knowledge. But now, the Krishna consciousness movement, without mundane compromises, is distributing Bhagavad Gita as it is, and people are deriving the benefits of awakening to Krishna consciousness and becoming devotees of Lord Krishna. Therefore, the proper distribution of knowledge has begun, by which not only will the whole world benefit, but India's glory will be magnified in human society. Kamsa tried to arrest Krishna consciousness within his house, Bojendra Gehe, with the result that Kamsa, with all his opulences, was later vanquished. Similarly, the real knowledge of Bhagavad Gita was being choked by unscrupulous Indian leaders, with the result that India's culture and knowledge of the Supreme were being lost. Now, however, because because Krishna consciousness is spreading, the proper use of Bhagavad Gita is being attempted. Text 20. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was within her womb, Devaki illuminated the entire atmosphere in the place where she was confined. Seeing her jubilant, pure, and smiling, Kamsa thought, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who was now within her, will kill me. Devaki has never before looked so brilliant and jubilant. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 4.7, Yad Yad Hidharmasya Lanir Bhavati Bharata Abhiyuttanam Adharmasya Tadatmanam Sujam Yaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practices, O descendant of Bharata, and a permanent rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. In this age, at the present moment, there are inordinate discrepancies in the discharge of human duties. Human life is meant for God realization, but unfortunately, the materialistic civilization is stretching only the senses of the body, not understanding the living force within the body, as clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. Dehinosmin yata dehe. Within the body is the body's proprietor, the living force, which is more important. But human society has become so fallen that instead of understanding the living force within the body, people have become busy with external things. This is a discrepancy of human duties. Therefore, Krishna has taken birth or taken shelter within the womb of the Krishna consciousness movement. That's great. Therefore, Krishna has taken birth or taken shelter within the womb of the Krishna conscious movement. Men of Kamsa's class, therefore, are very much afraid and are busy trying to stop this movement, especially in the Western countries. One politician has remarked that the Krishna consciousness movement is spreading like an epidemic, and that if not checked immediately, within 10 years, it may capture governmental power. There is, of course, such potency in the Krishna consciousness movement, as stated by authorities. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 17.22. Kali Kali Nama Rupe Krishna Avatara. In this age, Krishna has appeared in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The consciousness movement is spreading like wildfire all over the world, and it will go on doing so. Men who are like Kamsa are very much afraid of the movement's progress and acceptance by the younger generation. But as Krishna could not be killed by Kamsa, this movement cannot be checked by men of Kamsa's class. The movement will go on increasing more and more, provided the leaders of the movement remained firmly Krishna conscious by following the regulative principles and the primary activities of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra regularly. Oh boy, that's good. That's wonderful. And yes, so I pray that I don't ever, that I never stop chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And also, all my God brothers never stop chanting Hare Krishna mantra.
Right.
Text 21 comes the thoughts. What is my duty now? The Supreme Lord, who knows his purpose, Paritranaya Sadhanam Vinasaya Chatuskritam, will not give up his prowess. Devaki is a woman. She is my sister, and moreover, she is now pregnant. If I kill her, my reputation, opulence, and duration of life will certainly be vanquished. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Vedic principles, a woman, a brahmana, an old man, a child, and a cow should never be killed. It appears that Kamsa, although a great enemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was aware of the Vedic culture and conscious of the fact that the soul transmigrates from one body to another, and that one suffers in the next life according to the karmas of this life. Therefore, he was afraid of killing Devaki, since she was a woman. She was his sister, and she was pregnant. A Kshatriya becomes famous by performing heroic acts. But what would be heroic about killing a woman who, while confined in his custody, was under his shelter? Therefore, he did not want to act drastically by killing Devaki. Kamsa's enemy was within Devaki's womb, but killing an enemy is such a nascent state, in such a nascent state, would not be an exhibition of prowess. According to the Kshatriya's rules, an enemy should be fought face to face and with proper weapons. Then, if the enemy is killed, the victor becomes famous. Kamsa very conscientiously deliberated upon these facts and therefore refrained from killing Devaki, although he was completely confident that his enemy had already appeared within her womb. Yeah. Text 22. A person who is very cruel is regarded as dead even while living. While he is living or after his death, everyone condemns him, and after the death of a person in the bodily concept of life, he is undoubtedly transferred to the hell known as Andatama. Andatama. Purport. Kamsa considered that if he killed his sister while living, he would be condemned by everyone. And after death, he would go to the darkest region of hellish life because of his cruelty. It is said that a cruel person, like a butcher, is advised not to live and not to die. While living, a cruel person creates a hellish condition for his next birth. and therefore he should not live. But he is also, he is also advised not to die, because after death he must go to the darkest region of hell. Thus, in either circumstance, he is condemned. Kamsa, therefore, having good sense about the science of the soul's transmigration, deliberately refrained from killing Devaki. Well, that's good. In this verse, the words Ganta Tamo Nadam Tanu Manino Dhruvam are very important and require extensive understanding. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his Vaishnava Tosanitika, says, Tata Tanu Manina Papina Iti Dehatma Vaishnava Tosani Tika says, Tatra Tanu Manina Papina Iti Dehatma Udyaiva Papa Bin Evaso Bhavati. One who lives in the bodily concept, thinking, I am this body, involves himself by the very nature of this conception in life of sinful activities. Anyone living in such a conception is to be considered a candidate for hell. Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Punak Punas Charbita Charbananam. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.30. One who is in bodily concept of life has no control over sense gratification. Such a person can do anything sinful: to eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy a life of sense gratification, not knowing of the soul's transmigration from one body to another. Such a person does whatever he likes, whatever he imagines, and therefore, being subject to the laws of nature, he suffers miserably again and again in different material bodies. Yava kriyas tavad idam manovai karmakam yena sarira bandha. In the bodily concept of life, a person is karmanu bandha, or conditioned by karma. And as long as the mind is absorbed in karma, one must accept a material body. Sarira bandha, bondage to the material body, is a source of misery. Klesha da. Na sadumanye yata atmano yam asan api klesita asadeha. Bhagavatam 5.5.4. Although the body is temporary, it always gives up trouble in many ways. But human civilization is now unfortunately based on Tanu Mani, the bodily concept of life, by which one thinks, I belong to this nation. I belong to this concept of life, but which cure one thinks, by which one thinks, I belong to this nation. I belong to this group. I belong to that group, and so on. Each of us has his own ideas, and we are becoming increasingly involved individually, socially, communally, and nationally in the complexities of karmanubandha, sinful activities. For the maintenance of the body, men are killing so many other bodies and becoming implicated in karmanubandha. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami says that Tanu Mani, those in the bodily concept of life, are papi, sinful persons. For such sinful persons, the ultimate destination is the darkest region of hellish life. Ganta Tamo Nidam, in particular, a person who wants to maintain his body by killing animals is most sinful and cannot understand the value of spiritual life. In Bhagavad Gita 16.19-20, the Lord said, Tanaham Dvisita Uran Samsari Su Naradaman Shripam Ajasram Asubam Asur Isvaveva Yonisu Asurim Yonim Apana Mudha Janmana no Janmani Mam Aprapya Yaiva Kunteya Tato Yanti Adama Gatim. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among them, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Attaining repeated birth among the species of demoniac life, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. A human being is meant to understand the value of human life, which is a boon obtained after many, many births. Therefore, one must free oneself from Tanu Mani, the bodily concept of life, and realize the supreme material, supreme personality of Godhead. Text 23. Sukadeva Goswami said, deliberating in this way, Kamsa, although determined to continue in enmity toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead, refrained from the vicious killing of his sister. He decided to wait until the Lord was born and then do what was needed. Text 24. While sitting on his throne or in his sitting room, while lying on his bed, or indeed while situated anywhere, and while eating, sleeping, or walking, Kamsa saw only his enemy, the Supreme Lord, Rishikesha. In other words, by thinking of his all-pervading enemy, Kamsa became unfavorably Krishna conscious. Yeah, you can favorably be Krishna conscious, and you can also be unfavorably Krishna conscious. Srila Rupa Goswami has described the finest pattern of devotional service is Anukulyena Krishna Sivanam, or cultivating Krishna consciousness favorably. Kamsa, of course, was also Krishna conscious, but because he regarded Krishna as his enemy, even though he was fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, his Krishna consciousness was not favorable for his existence. Krishna consciousness, favorably cultivated, makes one completely happy. So much so that a Krishna conscious person does not consider Kaivalya Sukham, or merging into the existence of Krishna, to be a great gain. No, he thinks it's useless. Kaivalyam narakayata yate. For a Krishna conscious person, even merging into the existence of Krishna or Brahman, as impersonalists aspire to do, is uncomfortable. Kaivalyam narakate Tridasa Pur Patasa Pushpayate. Karmis hankered to be promoted to the heavenly planet, but a Krishna conscious person considers such promotion a will o' the wisp. In other words, something that is not of real consequence. Good for nothing. Yeah, there it is. Dundan Tendriya Kala Sarpa Patali Prokt Kata Damstrayate. Yogis try to control their senses and thus become happy. But a Krishna conscious person neglects the methods of yoga. He is unconcerned with the greatest of enemies, the senses, which are compared to snakes. For a Krishna conscious person who is cultivating Krishna consciousness favorably, the happiness conceived by the karmis, jnanis, and yogis is treated as less than a fig. Kamsa, however, because it is cultivating Krishna consciousness in a different way, that is, inimically, was uncomfortable in all the affairs of his life. Whether sitting, sleeping, walking, or eating, he was always in danger. This is the difference between a devotee and a non devotee. A non devotee or atheist also cultivates God consciousness by trying to avoid God in everything. For example, so called scientists who want to create life by a combination of chemicals regard the external material elements as supreme. Such scientists do not like the idea that life is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. As clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita, Amaevam so jiva loke, jiva bhuta. The living entities do not arise from a combination of material elements, such as earth, water, air, and fire, but are separated portions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one can understand the position of the living entity as a separated portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by studying the nature of the living entity, one can understand the nature of the Supreme Godhead, since the living entity is a fragmental sample of the Godhead. But because atheists are not interested in God consciousness, they try to be happy by cultivating Krishna consciousness in various unfavorable ways. Although Krishna was always absorbed in thoughts of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was not happy. A devotee, however, whether sitting on a throne or beneath a tree, is always happy. Srila Rupa Goswami resigned from office as a government minister to sit beneath a tree, yet he was happy. Tyakvaturnam asesha mandalapati shreyanim sadatujava. Second. Stud Goswami Astaka number 4. He did not care for his comfortable position as a minister. He was happy even beneath a tree in Vrindavan, favorably serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. For a non-devotee, the world is full of problems, whereas for a devotee, the entire world is full of happiness. That's the difference. Vishwam Purna Sukhayate Viti Mahendradis Chakitayate Yet Karuna Kataksha Vaibhavatam Tam Goram Eva Stuma Chaitanya Chandrapya Chandramta Chaitanya Chandra Chandramrita 95. This comfortable position of a devotee can be established by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yasmin stito na dukena guru napi vichalate. Bhagavad Gita 6.22. Even when a devotee is superficially put in great difficulty, he is never disturbed. Text 25. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narada, Devala, and Vyasa, and by other demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna, invisibly approached the room of Devaki, where they all joined in offering their respectful obeisances and prayers to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can bestow blessings upon everyone. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Devo Bhuta Sargo Loke Smin Daiva Asura Evacha Padma Puran. There are two classes of men, the Daivas and the Asuras, and there is a great difference between them. Kamsa, being an Asura, was always planning how to kill the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his mother, Devaki. Thus, he was also Krishna conscious. Yeah, because he's always thinking of Krishna. But devotees are Krishna conscious favorably. Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Daiva. Brahma is so powerful that he is in charge of creating an entire universe. Yet he personally came to receive the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Baba, Lord Shiva, is always jubilant in chanting the holy name of the Lord. And what to speak of Narada Muni, Vajaya Vina Radhika Ramana Name. Narada Muni is always chanting the glories of the Lord, and his engagement is to travel all over the universe and find a devotee or make someone a devotee. Even a hunter was made a devotee by the grace of Narada. Srila Sanatana Goswami, in his Tosani, says that the word Narada Adibihi, it means that Narada and the demigods were accompanied by other saintly persons like Sanaka and Sanatana, all of whom came to congratulate or welcome the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though Kamsa was planning to kill Devaki, he too awaited the arrival of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pratik Shams Taj Janma. Text 26. One second, let me just drink a little something here. Text 26. And there's a note here. Let me read that note. The Lord vows, Yada Yada Hidharma Shadlani Bhavati Bhavata. Abhyutanam Dharmasya Tadatmanam Shujamyam. Bhagavad Gita 4.7. To honor this vow, the Lord appeared. Okay. And now we're in text 26. Demigods prayed, O Lord, You never deviate from your vow, which is always perfect because whatever you decide is perfectly correct and cannot be stopped by anyone. Being present in the three phases of cosmic manifestation: creation, maintenance, and annihilation. You are the supreme truth. Indeed, unless one is completely truthful, one cannot achieve your favor, which therefore cannot be achieved by hypocrites. You are the active principle, the real truth in all the ingredients of creation, and therefore you are known as Antaryami, the inner force. You are equal to everyone, and your instructions apply for all time. You are the beginning of all truth. Therefore, offering our obeisances, we surrender unto you. Kindly give us protection. Now, that is a wonderful prayer. That is exceptional prayer. Purports: the demigods or devotees know perfectly well that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the true substance, whether within this material world or in the spiritual world. Srimad Bhagavatam begins, therefore, with the words Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Satyam Param Dhimahi. Vasudeva Krishna is the Param Satyam, the supreme truth. The supreme truth can be approached or understood. Can be approached or understood by the supreme method, as declared by the supreme truth. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyascha smitatpata. Bhagavad Gita 18:55. Bhakti, devotional service, is the only way to understand the absolute truth. For protection, therefore, the demigods surrender to the supreme truth, not to the relative truth. There are persons who worship various demigods, but the supreme truth, Krishna, declares in Bhagavad Gita 7:23, Antavatu phalam te sam tad bhavati aplamedasam. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Worship of demigods may be useful for a limited time, but the result is antavat, perishable. This material world is impermanent. The demigods are impermanent. In other words, they're not permanent, they're temporary. Whereas the living entity is eternal. Nityo Nityanam Chitanas Chitananam. Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. Every living entity, therefore, must search for eternal happiness, not temporary happiness. The words Satyam Param Dhimahi indicate that one should search for the absolute truth, not the relative truth. That's good. That's a very good statement. While offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Shingadeva, Prahlada Maharaja, said, Balasya Neha Saranam Pitaro Nrishinga Nartasya Shagadam Udanvati Majato Nao. Generally, it is understood that the protectors for a child are his parents, but this is not actually the fact. The real protector is the Supreme Personality of God. Taptasya tat prati vidir Ya ihan jasestas. Tavad vibo tanu britam tvad upeksitan upeksitanam. If neglected by the Supreme Personality Godhead, a child, despite the presence of his parents, will suffer, and a diseased person, despite all medical help, will die. In this material world, where there is a struggle for existence, men have invented many means for protection. But these are useless if the Supreme Personality Godhead rejects them. Therefore, the demigods purposefully say, Satyatmakam Twam Saranam Prapannaha. Real protection can be obtained from you, O Lord, and therefore we surrender unto you. The Lord demands that one surrender unto him. Sarvadharma parityaja mamekam saranambraja. And he further says, Sakrit eva prapano yas tavas miti cha yachate abayam sarvada tasmai dadami itad ratam mama. Mama. If one surrenders unto me, sincerely saying, My Lord, from this day I am fully surrendered unto you, I always give him protection. That is my vow. That is very good. If one surrenders unto me, meaning Krishna, sincerely saying, My Lord, from this day I am fully surrendered unto you, I always give him protection. That is my vow. Wow. Okay. Ramayana, Yuddha Kanda, 1833. The demigods offered their prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he had now appeared in the womb of his devotee Devaki to protect all the devotees harassed by Kamsa and his lieutenants. Thus, the Lord acts as Satyavrata, the protection given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be compared to the protection given by the demigods. It is said that Ravana was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. But when Lord Ramachandra went to kill him, Lord Shiva could not give him protection. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, accompanied by great sages like Narada and followed by many other demigods, had now invisibly appeared in the house of Kamsa. They began to pray for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and select prayers which are very pleasing to the devotees and which award fulfillment of devotional service. The first words they spoke acclaimed that the Lord is true to his vow. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna descends upon this material world just to protect the pious and destroy the impious. That is his vow. The demigods could understand that the Lord had taken his residence within the womb of Devaki to fulfill this vow. They went very lightly, glad that the Lord was appearing to fulfill his mission, and they addressed him as Satyam Param, or the supreme absolute truth. Everyone is searching after the truth. That is the philosophical way of life. The demigods give information that the supreme absolute truth is Krishna. one who becomes fully Krishna conscious can attain the absolute truth. Krishna is the absolute truth. Relative truth is not truth in all the three phases of eternal time. Time is divided into past, present, and future. Krishna is truth always, past, present, and future. In the material world, everything is being controlled by supreme time in the course of past, present, and future. But before the creation, Krishna was existing, and when there's creation, everything is resting in Krishna. And when this creation is finished, Krishna will remain. Therefore, he is absolute truth in all circumstances. If there is any truth within this material world, it emanates from the supreme truth, Krishna. If there is any opulence within this material world, the cause of the opulence is Krishna. If there is any reputation within the material world, the cause of the reputation is Krishna. If there is any strength within this material world, the cause of such strength is Krishna. If there is any wisdom and education within this material world, the cause of such wisdom and education is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the source of all relative truths. Devotees, therefore, following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, pray, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami, worshipping the Adi Purusha, the supreme truth, Govinda. Everything, everywhere is performed in terms of three principles, Jnana, Bala, Kriya, knowledge, strength, and activity. In every field, if there is not full knowledge, full strength, and full activity, an endeavor is never successful. Therefore, if one wants success in everything, one must be backed by these three principles. In the Vedas, Sritasvatara Upanishad 6.8, there is this statement about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate, natat samas cha vyadikas cha drishyate, parasya shakti vividaiva shruyate, swabhavaki gyanabala kriyacha. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there, and we will continue tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So tomorrow we'll go back and start from text 26. Okay. Thank you very much, my dear devotees, and please chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy today and every day. And never stop chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go to Premanande, Hare Bol. Thank you very much, my dear devotees. Have a good day, and we will continue tomorrow, beginning at text 26. In other words, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Text 26. Hare Bol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Ram. Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. Hare Ram. Hare Krishna.